Welcome to the Human Meme Podcast. I'm David Bowles, and today we're going to have a discussion about a new young adult book series I just wrote and published called The Elements. When we encounter disability, most of us have been trained to see deficiency, something missing, something wrong, a departure from the norm that requires correction, accommodation, or at minimum, sympathy. This is the meme of the broken body, and it has replicated through Western culture for centuries. The meme manifests in our language. We speak of people suffering from conditions rather than living with them. We describe someone as wheelchair-bound, rather than wheelchair-using, as though the chair were a prison rather than a tool. We praise disabled people for overcoming their disabilities, as if the goal of every disabled life should be to approximate able-bodied existence as closely as possible. The meme manifests in our narratives. Stories about disabled characters tend to follow predictable patterns. The disabled person exists to inspire the able-bodied protagonist. The disabled person must be cured by the story's end, their disability a problem to be solved. The disabled person is saintly and patient, bearing their burden with grace, teaching others valuable lessons about gratitude and perseverance. Or the disabled person is bitter and villainous, their disability the source or symbol of their moral corruption. What these narratives share is a common assumption. Disability is deviation. The able body is the standard against which all other bodies are measured and found wanting. This is the meme I wanted to challenge when I wrote the EleMenTs series. Elle is deaf. Min is blind. Tina has cerebral palsy. Tal has autism. In the world of the EleMenTs series, these 4 teenage girls discover they possess elemental powers. Elle commands wind. Min controls fire. Tina moves earth. Tal feels water. The easy version of this story would make their powers compensatory, a kind of cosmic apology for their disabilities. You lost your hearing, but here's telekinesis to make up for it. This framing would reinforce the meme of the broken body by treating disability as debt and power as payment. I wanted to write something different. In the EleMenTs series, the girls' powers emerge from their disabilities, not despite them. Elle's deafness shaped how she perceives vibration and movement through her body. When wind became her element, she already knew how to feel the world in ways hearing people do not. Her hands, trained in the grammar of American Sign Language, became the instruments through which she shapes the air itself. Min's blindness gave her decades of practice reading her environment through non-visual means. She learned to feel heat on her skin, to sense the presence of others through subtle temperature variations. When fire became her element, she was extending senses she had already developed. Her blindness is not a weakness in combat. It is a tactical advantage. She fights in darkness as easily as in light, and her opponents do not. Tina's cerebral palsy taught her that the body does not always cooperate with intention. Every movement is a negotiation with muscles that have their own ideas. When earth became her element, she finally had a domain that responded to her will absolutely. Stone and soil do what she asks. The irony is not lost on her. Tal's autism means she experiences the world with an intensity that neurotypical people cannot imagine. She counts everything because counting creates order. She trusts patterns more than people because patterns do not lie. When water became her element, she found something that matched her nature. Fluid, responsive, following laws that could be understood and predicted. The counter meme I wanted to introduce is this. Disability is not deviation. Disability is variation. It is not the absence of capacity, but the presence of different capacity. The meme of the broken body assumes a single correct way to have a body, a single correct way to perceive and interact with the world. The EleMenTs series proposes that there are many ways to be human, and some of them grant access to experiences and abilities that the so-called normal body will never know. The villains of the EleMenTs series are not monsters. They are institutions. Prometheus Applied Sciences wants to study people with abilities, to understand them, to harness them. The corporation sees the girls not as people, but as assets, as resources to be acquired and deployed. Behind Prometheus stands Verdant Agricultural Holdings, a shadow entity with vast resources and patient ambition. In the third book, the United States Senate considers a registration bill. Everyone with abilities would be required to identify themselves to the government, to be tracked and monitored, to be known. This is another meme. The meme of control. When those in power encounter something they do not understand, their first instinct is to contain it, to study it, to create systems of surveillance and management. The impulse is not necessarily malicious. It often frames itself as protection, as safety, as the responsible exercise of authority. But the effect is the same. The different are catalogued. The unusual are watched. The powerful are conscripted or neutralized. Disabled people know this meme intimately. The history of disability in Western culture is a history of institutionalization, of forced sterilization, of medical experimentation conducted without consent. The meme of control justified asylums and workhouses. It justified separating disabled children from their families for their own good. It justifies, even now, policies that limit where disabled people can live, what work they can do, how much money they can possess without losing their benefits. The EleMenTs series makes this meme visible by externalizing it. Prometheus Applied Sciences is fictional, but the logic it operates on is not. The Senate registration bill is invented, but the arguments for and against it echo debates that have happened and continue to happen about marginalized populations of all kinds. The fantasy allows me to examine the meme directly, to show how it operates, to let readers feel its weight. The climax of the trilogy occurs when people with abilities must decide whether to go public, to come forward, to be seen. This is perhaps the most complex meme the series explores. The meme of visibility. We live in a culture that often tells marginalized people that visibility is power. Come out, speak up, let yourself be seen. Representation matters. Visibility leads to acceptance. There is truth in this. Visibility can humanize. When people know someone who is disabled, who is queer, who is different in whatever way, they are less likely to support policies that harm that group. Visibility builds empathy. It creates connection. But visibility also creates vulnerability. To be seen is to be targeted. The same visibility that enables acceptance also enables surveillance, discrimination, violence. Marginalized people navigate this tension constantly. How much of yourself do you reveal? To whom? At what cost? In The Reckoning, the third book, the girls must make this choice collectively. They have built a community called The Gathering, a network of people with abilities who support each other in secret. When the Senate hearing approaches, they must decide. Do they testify? Do they come forward? Do they trade safety for influence, anonymity for advocacy? I did not want to provide an easy answer. The meme of visibility is genuinely double-edged. The series ends with a resolution, but not a simple one. Visibility is chosen, but the cost is acknowledged. Protection is won, but the fight is not over. The meme persists because the tension it describes is real. When I wrote the EleMenTs series, I made specific choices to resist the meme of the broken body. The girls are not inspirational. They are angry sometimes, they make mistakes. They disagree with each other and occasionally dislike each other. They do not exist to teach able-bodied characters valuable lessons about gratitude or perseverance. The girls are not cured. Their disabilities do not disappear when their powers manifest. Elle is still deaf at the end of the trilogy. Mean is still blind. Tina still has cerebral palsy. Tal is still autistic. Their powers do not fix them because they were never broken. The girls are not metaphors. Their disabilities are specific, researched, rendered with attention to the actual experience of being deaf, blind, physically disabled, autistic. I did not want disability to stand in for something else. I wanted it to be itself. These choices are themselves counter-memes. They are patterns I hope will replicate, ways of telling stories that resist the dominant narrative. Every story that treats disability as variation rather than deviation makes the next such story more possible. Every character who is disabled without being defined by disability makes the next such character easier to imagine. This is how memes work. They spread through repetition, through variation, through the slow accumulation of instances that shift what feels normal and what feels strange. The meme of the broken body has centuries of momentum. Challenging it requires patience, persistence, and the willingness to tell different stories again and again, until they no longer seem different at all. The EleMenTs series is now complete. 3 books, approximately 72,000 words, a story that took 20 years to find its final form. Beneath the City introduces the girls and their powers. The Invisible Hand brings them together as a team and introduces their enemies. The Reckoning takes them to Washington and asks what kind of world they want to live in. All 3 books are available in Kindle, paperback, and free PDF editions at bowlesbooks.com. Links are in the show notes. I wrote these books because I wanted to see disabled characters with power. Not power that compensates for disability, but power that emerges from it. Not characters who overcome their disabilities, but characters whose disabilities are integral to who they are and what they can do. I wrote these books because memes matter. The stories we tell shape what we believe is possible. The patterns we repeat become the patterns we expect. If we want a culture that sees disability as variation rather than deviation, we need stories that model that perception. We need narratives that treat disabled bodies as different rather than deficient, as alternative rather than inferior. The elements are wind, fire, earth, and water. They are 4 girls the world underestimated. They are a counter-meme, a different story, a pattern I hope will spread. For the Human Meme Podcast, I'm David Bowles, wishing you a bright evening and a warmer tomorrow. Be a human meme.